If you're in the luxury car business or own a group of automobile brands and have a luxury brand and have a mid-size, large-ish 3-row luxury SUV in your fleet, then you should be doing quite well. The demand for vehicles like this, especially in the US and in Canada as well, is going anywhere but down. It's really going up. Did I say that right? I think I did. And strangely enough, as you can very well see before you, this is a 2025 Lexus TX 500H, as you can read also in the caption. And if we go back only 3 model years, well, 2026 is already out, so let's say 4 model years, Lexus did not necessarily have a dedicated mid-size, largest 3-row SUV. Yes, there was the Lexus RXL, and we do not speak of the Lexus RXL. It was one of those Band-Aid solutions that really never stuck. You know, when you put a Band-Aid on your child's thumb because they just cut themselves lightly and then they go play right back in the mud or the sand or the water and the Band-Aid comes right off. Same thing. It was a okay idea, perhaps poorly executed. However, this is not. And this is probably, with only a few minor exceptions, the more interesting SUV among Lexus's growing lineup of SUVs. In fact, I can tell you right now that the 500H, which is the hybrid version, is extremely interesting, very potent. I'll give you a little trick now, not quite as fuel efficient as I was hoping for a Toyota/Lexus hybrid product. It's not terrible, but it's not great. And there are a few things about this very specific trim, which, as you can very well see, it's an F Sport. In fact, it's F Sport 2 or F Sport 3. This happens to be a 3, so the top trim model. I'll give you more pricing details shortly. There's one specific annoying thing. I'll leave it at that. But otherwise, this is a brilliant, semi-subtle competitor to the likes of the Audi Q7, the Acura MDX, which is one of the more popular models in this segment, the Infiniti QX60, which is making a comeback in Canada, although in limited numbers. And then if we push the envelope slightly further, like BMW X7, Benz GLS, Grand Wagoneer, Lexus, not Lexus, but a few Lincoln options. But among them all, I really truly, okay, let's remove the GLS and the X7 from that equation. But among them all, I really do appreciate what Lexus has done here with this product. Much of it, and I kind of just hinted at it, has to do with the hybrid version. Now, just before I go on, I want to say that Lexus Canada has said that there is a 550H Plus coming, which is the plug-in hybrid version, which is already and has already been available in the US for a few years. Lexus was kind of teasing that it was coming for 2026, but it's not, but it might be for 27 and 26. In the meantime, the 500H, definitely interesting. Anyhow, the following video, we'll do the usual tours, chat about the inside, and go for a 366 horsepower hybrid drive. So the base 2025 Lexus TX 350 starts at about $72,500 with fees. Now, if you want to step up to the 500, such as this one, you're looking at about $87,900. Not exactly cheap, but very, very well equipped. Now, before we do talk about the features in the vehicle, I just want to say a few words about styling. Now, I mentioned that this is an F Sport 3, which explains everything being blacked out, including the standard 22-inch wheels. The color and black combination still kind of cool, but becoming extremely played out. But that's not really important because you don't have to take this color. What I want to say is that there's an elegance to this SUV that differentiates it sufficiently from the Toyota Grand Highlander. And I think really that has more of a negative impact on the Grand Highlander than it does on the TX, although they do share a fair number of components. And now, let's talk about what you get for $72,500. Okay, let's jump right into this. Standard for all, the 12.3-inch digital instrument cluster. Here you have your 14-inch touchscreen display loading up. I want to use this opportunity just to mention that you saw that the screen as it loads up. Obviously, you have no access to the climate controls, but because of these physical knobs, you can actually quickly adjust temperature when it's booting up. Otherwise, the 14-inch touchscreen is very typically Toyota or Lexus, both user-friendly. Very straightforward here, your drive modes. There isn't anything extremely crazy about this. Your HVAC controls are right in front of you. Always a little bit of an issue. At least the fan controls are far apart as opposed to being really squished together because of the screen's overall size. So, you know, heated seats, cooled front seats, standard across the board too. The other features that you get as standard, the panoramic sunroof, as well as 20-inch wheels. Now, when you do step up to the 500h for the $15,000 give or take difference, obviously you have the hybrid powertrain, but you also get an adaptive variable suspension. You get the captain seats in the second row. I'll show those to you right now. And these sportier bumpers, which help differentiate it as the higher trim model. Oh, you know what? I'm going to use this opportunity to show you the handles. It's essentially a button behind the handle. At first, feels kind of cheap, but you kind of warm up to them. Same thing for the interior switches. When I did, that's if the lock actually, or the electronic function fails. Otherwise, you just press on it and it pops out. So here you have the captain seats, which are actually quite comfortable for adults, although they're, as always, being occupied by children. Very decent amount of room. I'm going to show this to you right now. These cup holders, very easy to remove. So you can actually have effortless access to the rear when you do use the back seat. When I do, but I'm not at the exact moment. The lower seat cushion in the third row is decently high off the ground to make it a usable place to be as an average adult. Maybe not forever, but it works out still quite well. So as we continue the tour, power hatch is standard, of course. You do have up to 572 liters of space behind the third row and a very generous 1,625 liters behind the second row. This actually works out quite well. It's accessible. It's a decent amount for a vehicle this size. And in this case, you do have power reclining third row buttons with the switches right there. So among the differentiators for the F Sport 3 package, well, I told you about all the blacked out features. You do have daytime LED daytime running lights, and then you get on the inside, and this is one of the items that bothers me. Again, the switch, you get used to it in time. One of the features is this 21 speaker Mark Levinson audio system. And then, so here we go. I will do my best to demonstrate. We'll start it up again. So you have advanced touch buttons on the steering wheel, and I hope it'll appear. Okay, so there's the heads-up display. If it'll focus, yes, there it is. Okay, so it's like Lexus had leftover remote touch controls. So when you touch the actual button, and this is only available in the F Sport 3, hopefully the focus will work. Come on, right in there. Yes, okay. So you can select your menus. You have different menus depending on which buttons you press. I wish it would focus. And, you know, dog and pony show, this is what happens. But as you can see, as I move my thumb around, the menu changes on the heads-up display. But the thing is, you have to press twice in order to actually select something. So you can't just press once. For example, if I want to forward a song, I have to touch the advanced touch steering wheel to select it. I think you can see it there. And then you have to touch it again to make it change song. So if you let go too long, then the selection, it goes away. So then you have to once again press twice. It's a very annoying, very simple little issue, but I absolutely hate it. And it's the reason why you shouldn't get an F Sport 3. Okay, so I mentioned it a number of times now. I think that the TX 500H, the hybrid version, is definitely the more interesting of the two currently, the 350 and the 500. The reason being is that, well, the 500, thanks to the same turbocharged 2.4 liter four-cylinder engine, and with the electric motors, including the one mounted on the rear axle, give you a total system combined output of 366 horsepower and 409 pound-feet of torque. As it's still a 5,000-pound SUV, and yes, I promise I'm trying to do my best to be good. And I'm in eco mode. I don't know if you noticed that. It should have appeared on a few of the shots when I'm showing you the 12.3-inch digital instrument panel. But that's proving to be insufficient to actually average what NRCan and Lexus would want us to believe you can average in mixed driving, 8.6 liters per 100 kilometers. I'm averaging somewhere around 10.5. And handed to God, if you believe in those things, I'm being generally good. And I'm doing more than 50% of my driving, probably almost 2/3 of my driving in the city, where normally Toyotas and Lexus's hybrid systems are at their best. Anyway, having said all of that, this thing still enjoys putting the power down. It is quite amusing. It's surprising, in fact, in many respects. So a little bit of information. Contrary to the 350, in which you get an 8-speed automatic transmission. In the 500, you get a 6-speed automatic transmission. Essentially, and no matter what, as I just showed you, the SUV gets out of the way. Maybe an 8-speed would have improved slightly fuel consumption, but hey, who am I to judge? I like the way it works right now, so nothing to complain about. Brakes good, steering fine, I suppose. The one thing that I was very much looking forward to, which is what you get when you get a 500H, is the adaptive variable suspension. Typically, these suspensions can make all the difference, and I'm saddened to report that the ride quality in the TX is not as refined, not as classy as I would have liked it to be. I think maybe the 22-inch wheels are a little bit too much for the suspension system to work. I mean, when dampers are set in sport, the ride is too dry. There's not enough forgiveness at the very top of the travel. So it's too bouncy. It reacts poorly to surface changes. And when you leave it in a normal, which is the most comfortable setting, depending on the surfaces, the TX can actually end up being floaty, but it's a better compromise than in sport. Double wishbone in the rear, and with the big 22-inch wheels and tires, handling is still surprisingly entertaining. I mean, as a premium, comfortable, easy sitting 6-person SUV, the drive is, I'd say, it's beyond entertaining. Now, I've essentially already given you the conclusion to this review. I mean, in the segment, yeah, I do like the MDX and, the GV80 from Genesis. That's a very interesting option, though I will allow myself to say that I still feel a little bit closer to Lexus as a brand, as identity, appreciation, if you will. At least for now, Genesis is going places, if not everywhere. But Q7, near and dear to my heart. But again, the TX just works for me on so many levels. In fact, in this segment, I mean, even if you include the Buick Enclave, which is a little bit less expensive than this. In fact, that reminds me, I never actually told you what the price of this one is. Close to $95,000. So you can imagine what a 550H Plus might end up retailing for if and when it does arrive. Anyhow, this should be top 3 in your purchase criteria decisions on your list for any premium, mid-size, large-ish SUV.